What happens when a man rises from the dust of colonial poverty and dares to tell Africa the one truth the world never wanted it to hear? That freedom cannot be begged for, it must be taken. His name was Thomas Sankara, and in just 4 years, he turned a forgotten West African colony into a nation of pride and defiance. He renamed his country, banned corruption, uplifted women, fed the poor, and even told the world's richest nations that Africa would no longer repay their debts. He lived simply, died poor, and preached dignity like it was a religion. But on October 15, 1987, gunfire silenced him forever. And what followed was stranger than his death itself. A silence. No riots. No outrage. No uprising. His people bowed their heads and carried on. So the haunting question remains, was Sankara truly the hero Africa lost too soon? Or was he a burden his people quietly wanted gone? This is the story of a man loved, betrayed, and abandoned. The story of Thomas Sankara, Africa's most controversial revolutionary. Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara was born on December 21, 1949, in the dusty town of Yako, Upper Volta. His father, Joseph, was a gendarme, disciplined, stern, and loyal to the French colonial army. His mother, Marguerite, was the quiet strength of the household, nurturing her children with dignity and faith. From her, Sankara learned compassion. From his father, he inherited unshakable discipline. But here's the first clue to his destiny. Sankara's childhood was modest, almost painfully so. No luxuries, no privileges, just the smell of millet porridge at dawn, the sound of church bells in the evening, and the burning Sahel sun over cracked earth. Yet even in this simple setting, something unusual was happening. Sankara wasn't like other children. While others played, he asked unsettling questions. Why are some so rich while others starve? Why do we serve foreigners who take everything from us? Teachers noticed his intensity, sometimes even worrying about it. But one thing was clear, this boy wasn't ordinary. At school, Sankara stood out. He excelled in mathematics and literature, but more than grades, it was his relentless curiosity that made him different. Friends remembered how he often rose before dawn to study, disciplined like a soldier even as a teenager. And yet, he wasn't cold. He could charm, make others laugh, and inspire classmates with his bold ideas about Africa's future. It was as if leadership clung to him, even before he wore a uniform. By 17, Sankara made a decision that shocked no one. He joined the military academy. But don't mistake this for a thirst for war. For Sankara, the military was not about power, it was about service. He saw it as a school where he could sharpen his body, train his mind, and prepare for something greater. What no one realized at the time was this. The boy from Yako was marching toward a destiny that would shake Africa. And in that march, he was already walking straight toward betrayal. By the early 1980s, Upper Volta was collapsing under the weight of corruption. The government was rotten to its core. Ministers handed out jobs to cousins and friends. Wealth was stolen openly, and the ruling class lived like kings while their people starved. Imagine this. In the palaces of Ouagadougou, leaders drove imported cars and drank French champagne. But just a few miles away, children died in villages with no clean water or medicine. The gap between ruler and ruled was a canyon. And the worst part? The country wasn't truly free. France, the former colonizer, still pulled the strings. Every major decision, every loan, every contract had to run through Paris. The so-called independence of 1960 was nothing but a mask. Upper Volta was a colony in everything but name. Foreign aid poured in, but it didn't help. Instead, it trapped the nation in chains of dependency. Loans from the IMF and France lined the pockets of ministers while schools crumbled and hospitals went dark. The people whispered, "We are still slaves, only this time to our own leaders." Then, in August 1983, something explosive happened. A fiery young captain named Thomas Sankara, just 33 years old, seized power in a coup. But unlike the corrupt generals before him, Sankara didn't grab power to enrich himself. He came with a vision. His first move shocked the world. He renamed the country from Upper Volta, a colonial name given by outsiders, to Burkina Faso, the land of upright people. It wasn't just a name change. It was a declaration of war against the past. And the changes didn't stop there. Vaccination drives saved thousands of children. Land was given back to peasants. Forced marriages were outlawed. Female genital mutilation banned. Women, for the first time, were pushed into leadership roles. This wasn't reform, it was revolution. But Sankara's boldest act would strike fear into both elites and the West. He rejected foreign aid, declaring, "He who feeds you, controls you." And at the OAU summit in 1987, he thundered, "Debt is neocolonialism. Debt is a cleverly managed reconquest of Africa." He told Africa to unite and refuse repayment. The poor cheered. The elites panicked. And in Paris, powerful men listened and decided he had gone too far. Because one truth was now undeniable. Sankara had become too dangerous to be left alive. At first, Sankara's revolution looked unstoppable. The poor adored him. Women hailed him as a champion. Young soldiers marched proudly under the new flag of Burkina Faso. For a moment, it seemed nothing could stand in his way. But revolutions don't just make friends. They make enemies, powerful ones. Sankara stripped the ruling class of their luxuries. Businessmen who once grew fat on corruption now found themselves broke. Ministers who once enjoyed banquets were forced to live modestly. Military officers who had been kings of privilege were suddenly treated like ordinary men. Every step forward for the people meant another enemy gained among the elites. And abroad, powerful eyes were watching. France, the former colonial master, saw in Sankara a threat far greater than his tiny country's size. If Burkina Faso could reject debt and foreign aid, what would stop Senegal, Ivory Coast, or Niger from doing the same? Sankara wasn't just changing one country, he was threatening an empire. But the deadliest threat wasn't in Paris. It was right beside him. His closest ally. His so-called brother. Blaise Compaoré. To the world, they were inseparable. Two young captains who rose together, bound by fire. But behind the smiles, Compaoré was different. Where Sankara dreamed of sacrifice, Compaoré dreamed of power. Slowly, quietly, he became the bridge between Sankara's enemies at home and his enemies abroad. By 1987, the whispers of betrayal grew louder. Friends warned Sankara again and again, "Blaise is planning to overthrow you." But Sankara's answer was always the same, calm and almost fatalistic. "While they are plotting to kill me, I am already busy preparing a better life for my people." It was noble. It was brave. But it was also deadly. Because in those whispers lay the truth. His revolution was already surrounded. On October 15, 1987, the trap was sprung. Sankara entered the council chambers with only his papers. No guards, no suspicion. To him, it was another meeting. To his enemies, it was the execution. The doors burst open. Soldiers stormed in, rifles raised. They weren't strangers. They were his own men, bought and turned. Sankara rose to his feet. No fear. No hesitation. His last words to the room were steady, almost defiant. "Comrades, stay calm." The rifles answered. Bullets ripped through his body. Within seconds, the man who renamed a nation, who told Africa to reject its debts, who defied France itself, was dead. But he wasn't the only one. 12 of his closest allies, ministers, advisors, men who had carried the revolution with him, were cut down in the same storm of bullets. The chamber became a slaughterhouse, echoing with screams, then silence. That night, their bodies were dumped into shallow graves. No honor, no farewell, just dust and secrecy. Hours later, Blaise Compaoré's voice echoed over national radio. He declared himself head of state. He claimed Sankara had betrayed the revolution. He promised to correct the mistakes. But the people of Burkina Faso knew the truth. The revolution had not been corrected. It had been murdered. And in the shadows, many whispered that France, watching from afar, was quietly satisfied. Because with Sankara's death, the loudest revolutionary voice in Africa had finally been silenced. In most revolutions, The death of a leader sparks fire. Crowds march. Streets erupt. Voices rise in fury. But after the bullets of October 15th, 1987, something far stranger happened in Burkina Faso. There was no uprising, no mass protests, no great wave of anger. Instead, there was silence. Why? Some say it was fear. Blaise Compaoré moved quickly, surrounding himself with soldiers, silencing critics, crushing resistance before it could breathe. In those first days, even whispering Sankara's name could mean disappearance. Fear hung in the air like smoke, but others suggest something far more unsettling. Maybe the silence wasn't just fear. Maybe it was relief. Sankara's revolution, though noble, was harsh. He slashed wages, demanded sacrifice, banned extravagance, and forced the nation into discipline. For some, he was a savior, but for others, he was a burden too heavy to carry. Could it be that the same people who once cheered him were secretly glad when he was gone? That silence remains one of history's darkest questions. Was Burkina Faso simply too terrified to rise up? Or had the people already turned away from their revolutionary leader before the bullet struck? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Silence can sometimes be louder than protest. And in the quiet streets of Ouagadougou, that silence became a verdict. Decades later, the ghost of Thomas Sankara still walks Africa. To the youth, he is a legend. The soldier who renamed his country, lived simply, rejected corruption, and told the world that Africa would not beg. His face appears on murals, his words echo in protests. His story fuels the dreams of a new generation. But history is never that simple. Critics point to his flaws. His policies strained an already fragile economy. His uncompromising style left little space for dissent. He demanded sacrifice, even when his people were exhausted. Was he too pure for politics, or simply too rigid to last? And then comes the most haunting question of all, the silence of his people. If Sankara was truly the hero we say he was, why didn't the masses rise for him? Why was his revolution buried with so little resistance? Was he martyred by foreign powers, or quietly abandoned by the very people he fought for? This is why Sankara's legacy is so controversial. To some, he is Africa's greatest revolutionary, silenced by betrayal. To others, he is a dreamer who demanded more than his nation could give. But one truth is undeniable. Thomas Sankara lit a fire that still flickers in the hearts of millions. Whether that fire was a guiding light, or a blaze too hot to endure, remains for us, and for history, to decide. Now it's our turn, fellow history lovers. Do you think Sankara was Africa's greatest revolutionary, or was he simply too uncompromising to survive? Did his people fail him by staying silent after his death, or were they powerless against fear? And if Sankara were alive today, would Africa be different, or would the same forces have destroyed his dream again? I want to hear your thoughts. If you're fascinated by stories like this, just as I am, then let's debate Sankara's legacy together in the comments below. But remember, this story doesn't end here. Sankara was not the only African leader who dared to defy the West. Next week, we'll dive into the life of another giant who shook the world order and paid the ultimate price. You won't want to miss it. White right pointing backhand index. So if you love uncovering powerful untold stories like this, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be with us every step of the journey as we explore more hidden chapters of history. Together, we are building a community of voices who refuse to let these stories be forgotten.